In the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford, the court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war.
What's going on, y'all? Right now, we're about to dive into the inconvenience truth about the Democratic Party. We're going to react to this right here. I guess they're going to expose the agenda behind the Democratic Party. So sit back and react with your boy. Remember, I say that to say this. I am in no party. I believe in policies over identity. There's no way that you think that you're going to be able to entice me with just music, entertainment, and a good old twerk. You understand? If that's the case, I'll just take myself to the strip club. With that being said, sit back and react. Let's see how this is about to play out. Let's go back.
When you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party comes to mind? The Republicans or the Democrats? Most people would probably say the Democrats, but this answer is incorrect. Since its founding in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every major civil rights initiative and has a long history of discrimination.
Yeah, I think I heard of this right here. I also, if correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Lyndon B. Johnson was the one who actually did the switcheroo and had everyone thinking, yeah, we should be Democrats. Check it out.
The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely. This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war. The commander-in-chief during that war was the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves. 6 days after the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated President Lincoln.
It sounds like history is kind of repeating itself right now, isn't that? That kind of gave me chills right there.
Lincoln's vice president, a Democrat named Andrew Johnson, assumed the presidency. But Johnson adamantly opposed Lincoln's plan to integrate the newly freed slaves into the South's economic and social order. Johnson and the Democratic Party were unified in their opposition to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave blacks citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave blacks the vote. All 3 passed only because of universal Republican support. During the era of Reconstruction, federal troops stationed in the South helped secure rights for the newly freed slaves. Hundreds of black men were elected to Southern state legislatures as Republicans, and 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900. The Democrats did not elect a black man to Congress until 1935. But after Reconstruction ended, when the federal troops went home, Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses.
I'm telling you, this was all strategic. Do you see the strategy right here? Do you see how they really tricked everyone and pulled one over everyone's head? Pause. This is why I always tell people, if you don't do your due diligence as far as when it goes to research, as far as when it comes to researching, you're just gonna always accept what they give you on the surface. You understand? You gotta go deeper than the surface. If you stay a surface dweller, then you're just gonna be tricked throughout your whole entire life.
And they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan, founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric Foner, himself a Democrat, notes, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party.
That's something that's really believable right there. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, if you look at history and pay attention to what's been happening, it should start to make sense at this point. You understand? It seems like what they did was they just spiraled into a bigger regime. You understand? It got bigger than what they thought it was gonna get. Pause. You know? So yeah, man, that's deep right there. The things you thought you knew until you know.
President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agencies and even screened the first movie ever played at the White House, the racist film, The Birth of a Nation, originally entitled The Klansman. A few decades later, the only serious congressional opposition to the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 came from Democrats. 80% of Republicans in Congress supported the bill, less than 70% of Democrats did. Democratic senators filibustered the bill for 75 days until Republicans mustered the few extra votes needed to break the logjam. And when all of their efforts to enslave blacks, keep them enslaved, and then keep them from voting had failed, the Democrats came up with a new strategy. If black people are going to vote, they might as well vote for Democrats, as President Lyndon Johnson was purported to have said about the Civil Rights Act. I'll have them voting Democrat for 200 years.
That gave me chills right now. That gave me chills. It should have given you chills as well, because just think about it like this. Growing up as a kid, you seen your parents voting Democrat, and they were so team Democrat. I'm talking about it was Democrat or die. You understand what I'm saying? And I even grew up thinking that, yeah, you should, if you come from a certain specific region or you're from a certain place in this earth, you should only be voting Democrat living in America. And now that I'm much older, listen, no, can't keep fooling me. You had me once, fooled me once, but you're not gonna fool me twice.
So now, the Democratic Party prospers on the votes of the very people it has spent much of its history oppressing. Democrats falsely claim that the Republican Party is the villain, when in reality, it's the failed policies of the Democratic Party that have kept blacks down. Massive government welfare has decimated the black family. Opposition to school choice has kept them trapped in failing schools. Politically correct policing has left black neighborhoods defenseless against violent crime. So when you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party should come to mind? I'm Carol Swain, professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University for Prager University.
Now, let me see y'all say something against this right here. Let me see somebody fabricate and try to say, well, nah, what they really mean is, and this is what really is happening. So, you know, because for some reason, people who are like team Democrat, they really up and down believe like they're supposed to always just be that. I've heard Republicans say, you know what, that Democrat has some good policies, etc., etc. But I mean, I see it all day. The news is what makes people confused, you know. That is their job. Their job is to make you forget, keep you confused, keep you in limbo. You understand? Keep you uneducated. This is why they keep feeding you so much news daily. You don't really need to be consuming that much news. Some of the things that they show you is irrelevant, but it's by design. You understand? So you got to be careful with it. Just the same way you can't eat everything when it comes to food, you can't be watching everything and believing everything that you hear. It's good to read a book. Go read a book. You understand? You ever heard that saying? If you take a look, it's in a book. Yeah, make sure you go ahead and do that. Hey, listen, if you made it to this part of the video, consider hitting that like button. Definitely subscribe to my channel and also hit the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.